Yeah, go.
When an individual appears before others, he or she will have many motives for trying to control the impression they receive on the situation, said Irving Goffman. The identity theory management, also known as IMT for abbreviation, which is an intercultural communication theory that is from the 1990s. It's also important because it's how individuals are identified on how they present themselves to others, like their first impression. It's also how people will identify you as a person through your actions and behavior. It's also how you handle yourself in various situations you are in. I know a lot about this theory since I did research to present to you guys and tell you all about the identity management theory it's all about. The way people can identify you is throughout many different ways as behaviors, actions, background, and so on. It's how you perceive yourself to others and how they view you as a person. IMT plays a big role in everyday life in society, whether just talking to a friend, meeting new people, or simply speaking in an interview. The identity management theory was developed by two theorists named William R. Foucault and Tadasu Mahori, in which they based it on Irving Goffman's essays on face-to-face behavior. It's also the image oneself the individual represents to others as interpersonal encounters. They present their theory on how a person is having a conversation and how they are able to maintain face contact and how the individual reveals their communication competence. They use communication competence to how the person handles or controls their communication skills when being in a difficult conversation. Megan Marie said for an article for Prezi.com is that theory suggests that people behave according to their goals and that a person's competency and identity all work together with our interactions with others. For those who don't know what identity management is where the individuals show their principles, their communication skills, and behavior when speaking to another person while maintaining a professional face-to-face interaction. It's important to master these because it's how people will remember you and will identify you as either a good speaker or a bad speaker. It's all about how you perceive yourself to others and leaving a good impression. For the event that I chose that deals with this theory is the comparative critical analysis of identity management on Facebook, which was for the China Media Research. It deals with a study that provides analysis of cultural identity management between the Asian and Indian Facebook users in India and the US. The study was to show the role on social media in the construction and presentation of self-identity of two groups of people hailing from one nation or state but residing in different cultural settings. The study also shows how the influence of two groups construct their identities in the world of Facebook. It was also to see what they post about themselves and how they show their identity to their Facebook friends in Facebook. This shows that one living in the U.S. are more free and don't mind posting issues about their homeland and their adopted land. The ones living in India only post about issues in India, only identifying who they are. The one living in the U.S. show they are Asians, Indians, but also show their traditions for both sides of the places. This research was supported to the identity management theory because it shows how people show who they are throughout social media. It lets them show how people who they are and where they are from. It also helps the viewers identify a person throughout social media because that's what other person is showing by their posts. There are other theories who use this research theory for their own study, which some of them are Blake E. Ashford and Fred Mael. What Blake and Fred are using this theory is social identification or perceptions of oneness within a group or two. Social identification stands for categorization of individuals, in which they see the stereotypes of groups of people and see the outcomes of the group formation. This theory is also applied to the organizational socialization, role conflict, and intergroup relations. They are analyzing race in groups of people and their stereotypes. It's all about how a person from a different view may see you and identify you in a category. The way it is just the individual's way of showing who they are and when being around with people, but also how they behave in different circumstances. Identity has many ways of categorizing a person and viewing a person. Identity management theory is an important role in society, but in everyday life. It's important because that's how people will know you and recognize you. Because as an individual, it's best to paint a good picture of yourself and how people will remember you in the long run. It's also to face the first, it's to show the first impression, but also knowing how to speak face to face. Without identity management theory, there wouldn't be those top MVPs, managers, and presidents, because that's how we know and identify one, by how they are and what they do. Identity is what makes you who you are, whether you are a student, spouse, worker, a parent, or even a member of a frat or sorority, or a Democratic Party or a basketball player. You are still being identified through these groups, and that's how people will know you and identify you as. Identity is everywhere, and without it, we wouldn't know what or where we are from.